All right, let's talk front desk sales. If we're not going to talk San Francisco Giants, Golden State Warriors, or San Francisco 49ers, then let's talk sales, my next favorite thing to do. And then sales from there, front desk sales. And what I want to talk about is the attributes of that front desk salesperson. So either maybe you have a front desk person and you're wondering who's the right person, right? I've got a couple people. I need to assign someone to this front desk sales position. Who's the right person? I'm going to give you 7 attributes that you need to start looking for. Who has these 7 attributes? If you're looking to fill a position, these are the 7 attributes you want to look for. And if you already have someone in that position, I bet they have the bulk of these attributes. I have come up with a list before that was probably 5 or 6 things that is really close to this list. And what I find is people in sales come up with roughly the same list. They'll tell you these attributes, right, are important for people. We could say personality traits. I like the word attributes. These are important for people that are going to be successful in sales. Now, I'm going to tell you, people who don't understand sales and like to hire front desk people and tell me they'll be good at managing this first patient phone call, don't come up with the same list. And I'm going to tell you, there's one word they all use, which is the first tell that they don't understand the 7 attributes that someone must have. So let me go through these 7 attributes for you. Number 1 is a good listener. This cannot be overemphasized enough. I've done talks recently. I have videos just on listening. I've done posts just on listening. I was not a good listener when I started this process. And I quickly learned, and the more I read and the more I saw how successful people were, they were great listeners. So a good listener is number 1. Number 2 is they have to be a problem solver. And I've run into this issue before with people, right? It's like if they're looking to get in the sales or a conversation with someone to figure out, are we the right fit? Right. And you practice these scenarios and you go over and over. And the first day they get thrown a curveball, right? They can't problem solve through that, right? These are not people that are going to be good at sales, and they don't have to be good problem solvers high level. I would say where this really comes into play is, again, someone gets thrown a curveball or someone gets asked something that you haven't practiced, right? And so knowing what you should do next, and a lot of this is the art of the conversation, right? Is this problem solving. So they got to be able to handle those curveballs and go off script. I don't like scripts, but they got to be able to go off script and be a problem solver. Number 3 is empathetic. And I want you to say this word empathy, right? Empathy is not sympathy. And I have a lot of people tell me, yeah, empathy is important. Our front desk is empathetic. And what I realize is they're sympathetic. And sympathy is completely different. We're not going to go into that right now, but do not confuse the two. Someone who is sympathetic is not empathetic, and someone who is sympathetic will not make a good salesperson. I want you to do the research on that, or maybe we'll do another one on just that. All right, number 4 is someone who's genuine, right? They got to sound real on the phone. They can't sound like they're reading from a script. They can't sound like they're just checking boxes. And this gets away from that pushy thing. So someone who's genuine, they're going to ask a question. They're going to listen for the answer. And you can see how some of these play together. And then they're going to say, Jerry, I'm so sorry to hear that. And when they say that, you're going to believe them because they're going to be honest. So number 4 is genuine. Number 5 is knowledgeable. And again, I think this goes with problem solver. Knowledgeable not only about the products and the services that they may be selling, but knowledgeable about the person on the other end of the phone, knowledgeable about the process that this person is going to go through if they say yes. So knowledgeable, I think, is very broad in a good way, right? They know the product, they know the service, but how much are they learning about the person on the other end of the phone? How much do they know about the product and the deliverable where they can say, Jerry, let me tell you what's going to happen next, right? So knowledgeable is a broad term here, and I really like this term. Number 6 is helpful. And again, I think we can tie some of these in together and talk about how people are helpful, right? And I put problem solver and helpful together, right? Someone may have a question about billing. Someone may have a question that you haven't been asked before, and you're like, you know what? That's a great question. I don't know the answer, but let me look this up for you real quick, right? That can be helpful, right? So hearing people's voice, hearing people's tonality, and knowing when they might be needing, hey, Jerry, sounds like you might have more questions. I would love to answer those questions for you, right? To me, that's a good listener. You're being a problem solver, and you're being helpful. And by the way, you're being empathetic. So I love how these come together. And then number 7 is responsible. And with responsible, I think of this as like ownership. They take responsibility of the call. They take responsibility of the process. They take responsibility of this conversation they are in here and now. So the 7 attributes of a great front desk salesperson, and by the way, you could take front desk out, the 7 attributes of a great salesperson. So these attributes that you should be looking for on your team are as follows: a good listener, a problem solver, empathetic, genuine, knowledgeable, helpful, and responsible. I want to quickly go over the one thing you didn't hear. And the number one answer I get when I ask people, so tell me about your front desk team. Tell me about the skills. Tell me about their attributes. Tell me about their personality. The people who don't understand the front desk sales role, and probably some of you listening to this, and it's not a knock, it's just, it is what it is, because I hired for this one attribute more than any other that I'm going to tell you next, and it's not on the list. And I hired for it for 8 years. Caring. And if you think about it, all 7 of those involve caring. So when someone tells me, right, oh, my front desk is caring, I'm like, that's like the lowest hanging fruit. That's like the first box, right? That's almost like if you have to tell me they're caring, right? It's like having integrity as one of your core values. You shouldn't have to tell people that. You should just demonstrate it and be it. So caring is not on the list. Caring is not a requirement, because if you understand the rest of these, then you are caring. Cool. We good with those? Cool. Those are the 7 attributes, and those are across all salespeople. And by the way, those things aren't necessarily front desk face. These are not the same as for billers, right? These are the attributes that you're going to need for a great front desk salesperson. Cheers.